Friday, I would bunk school to go and somehow manage 85 paisa to buy a ticket.
Let's have a huge round of applause. Please help me welcome on stage Adil Hussain.
When my dad passed, I didn't have any grief in me.
Did you actually ever dance around trees?
I did in 1988 for a television. Jungle mein मोर नाचा तो किसने देखा? So I was like, that's a good metaphor, but I don't think the more cares if somebody watched or not. I don't think I should be remembered.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I hope we haven't taken you away from lunch or a postprandial nap. I hope we won't bore you to death. Really lovely to be speaking to you, Adil.
Pleasure.
After being on the side of the people who critique actors and who are not deeply popular amongst people, but I really enjoyed so many of your performances, and I'm really happy to be speaking to you here. Given the fact that most people here are involved or connected or engaged with the digital world, I thought we could speak to you a little bit about being a denizen of a world which was pre-digital, was analog. I don't know how many of you even remember a world like that, but some of us actually do. So I'm going to ask you, Adil, to begin by telling us a little bit about how you feel things have changed, and also how does it feel to be, a person who remembers a world that used to be pre-digital. What does it feel like?
Good evening, everybody. It's a huge open question, actually, because there are experiences which I have grown with, like going to, I bunked school, when I was probably in the sixth standard. Every Friday I would bunk school to go and somehow manage 85 paisa to buy a ticket and sit in the front row and watch Bachchan Sahab, Dharmender Sahab, and Ranbir Kapoor, and Hema Malini, and of course these amazingly beautiful women on screen, and dreamt to dance around the tree when I would grow up. So that's an event, and that event needed so much of planning and intensity of passion which would drive us to sort of bunk school, and would be discovered by my brother, who would catch me by my ear in the middle of the film in the interval and take me home in front of my dad, playing the hero that, look, I have discovered your youngest son who is watching a movie, bunking school. So my father would give me, a few slaps here and there. And so, so from there, it's in your palm and you can just watch it whenever you want. It's huge jump, and a huge, I don't know even how to quantify the experiential difference, because I feel that the intimacy that I have now with my own time, like I choose my timing, I choose the length of the film, I would choose the time and the space where I'm going to watch it. Would I watch it in an aeroplane, or should I sit in my potty, to watch this particular scene which I really thought would be interesting and I would not get time later, or shall I watch it on my big screen with through a projector? So that intimacy has its own charm. Like, it is a very intimate experience of knowing someone. And on the other hand, the communal experience of going to a cinema hall and meeting other people, also, you probably would be use that event as a sort of like wearing your clothes, which will be appreciated, or dressed up well, you comb your hair, and the entire communal experience, which has its extremely, I think the I'm going to jump a little bit here because I read, I'm sure all of you're so connected to the world, so you must have read the most long living human beings on the planet are in these
Japan.
particular blue zones, and they live longer because they are in a community living. They meet their friends, they eat certain food, of course, and they have this long walks, and their emotional health is the most important aspect of it. It's not that how many cigarettes they smoked or wine they had drunk. They had. That's not the those are not the reasons why they live longer. They live longer because they have this emotional connect to the world, to their friends, to their children, or mostly friends and their loved ones. So I think the communal experience is, I would value it more, and I miss that quite a lot nowadays, because I'm also the reason that one is busy with doing things, but I still make sure that when I go to a film festival, like Dharamshala Film Festival in India is my most favorite film festival. Some of the film festival people will kill me for saying that, but I'm going to say it because there is no red carpet. It's only the film, those are stars, and not the people, those who make. I consider that as my motto. Like, films are the star, the story is the star, and the people, those who are doing acting in it or directing it, they are just minute components of that. So yes, long answer to your short question. I miss my communal experiences.
Right. I mean, that was actually very expansive, and then it had a lot of things that we can think about. But before I jump into my second question, I do want to know, did you actually ever dance around trees?
I did in 1988 for a television New Year Eve television program in Assam. That when I was 19 years old, not after that.
Ah,
No,
but that's not been
and I have no
immortalized on
intention
cinema.
to
Or,
do that.
oh, no, wait. I should amend that. It's not been immortalized on film. It's possibly something, a digital blip, which is gone forever. Who
I guess
knows?
so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. The next thing that I wanted to actually speak to you about is the fact that, see, a filmmaker like Christopher Nolan, for example, is known for the fact that he shoots on film. He refuses to go down the digital path, and that is something that intrigues me for the simple reason that now I think 99% of people who are working in film or in communications or in any things which are bits and bytes which have to be go out into the ether are all using digital devices, um, basically using the digital world as their playground. But he refuses to do that because he says that celluloid has the kind of depth which digital never will. So there are two things here. One is that the democracy or a democratic thing that happens when a film, for example, like an iPhone can be used to shoot an entire film. Steven Soderbergh has done it so brilliantly, and a couple of other people I know have used their phones, used cameras, which basically mean that you don't really use expensive film, you're using a digital device. How do you see that? Do you see it as a matter of convenience, or do you see it as something which is lacks depth? If it is digital, it's on the surface. If it is film, 3D. What do you think about that?
Limited exposure to the technical aspect of filmmaking. I have very limited exposure, but Nolan and some other people as well who prefers to shoot in on celluloid. And I think they have their reasons which I will not be able to decipher with my unqualified eyes. But the democracy part of it is that it had, during the celluloid time, you must have these resources, which are huge amount of resources, expertise, craft as well, but mostly resources to begin with, and then you could make a film. But when you have this camera in front of you and in your hand, in your palm, anybody could make a film. And the danger of that is that a lot of trash and mediocrity is thriving in the digital market, digital world. And also the fact that it is, since it has democratized, so the talented, very, very gifted people, those who are in villages or, semi-urban places, like where I come from, Gwalpara, where newspapers used to reach 3 days after they were published. So places like there, a person who is really talented can make a film and put it into, and the world can access it. So it has got its downsides and upsides as well. It's a very difficult one, but I somehow, I'm an optimistic person, so I feel that people, those who are very curious to access content which are of quality, would be able to find the quality programs which are floating or, floating in digital spaces if they look for it. But I think it is also very important that people must look for it. And if it comes easy in your hand, it is said in Indian spiritual practices that never give free advices. It's never valued. Never give something which is very good easily to the people. It will not be valued. Somebody who has got curiosity, who is passionately looking for something, then the thing which they are looking for will find the person. Like they say that you never find your guru, guru finds you because you are ready. And I think it is important. I completely believe in that. And that's why I do not have a peer machinery behind me or under me or over me. I do not believe that I must put myself into the world. And as you know, that for this event, I had to really work my things around, and because of your beautiful invitation. So I feel that it is important for the humanity to cultivate this habit of to put in some effort and energy to look for something which is of quality. That's what I feel.
Right. I think that's a beautiful answer. It sort of makes you go down paths that the question didn't even open up. I'm going to have to unpack that a little, but this gives me a chance to actually talk to you about one of my favorite films of yours. It's called Mukti Bhawan. Yes, and it is, in a way, it sort of segues back into the conversation we just had about the guru and about looking for the right path and salvation. So would you talk to me a little bit about that film? And I remember you talking about how it was a transformative experience for you. So if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Shubhra just mentioned a film which is one of my most favorite films that I have so far acted in, called Hotel Salvation, or in Hindi it's called Mukti Bhawan. It's on Hotstar. I'm just
If you haven't
informing.
watched it, I suggest everybody just go back home today. The first thing you do is to watch that
And you
film.
can watch it with your family members. It's a beautiful film about father and son. I play the son, so my father wakes up in the morning and says, my time is up. I'm going to Banaras and die, which surprises me. And I would expect that my father would want me with him to make this journey to Banaras, but he says, no, I don't want you. I know you are you are very busy. I'm just a clerk in an insurance company in a small town, so no money, very little money. So anyway, I find some time and I go into this journey with him, and we are confined in this tiny little room in Banaras where this particular place called Mukti Bhawan, means Hotel Salvation, where you are allowed to stay only for 15 days. And if you don't die within 15 days, you are supposed to leave. So it's a very funny, witty, and deep an heartwarming, heartbreaking film as well. It's a father son and all his unspoken accusations and unspoken grudges against each other that they thrash out within this confine of the tiny little 10 by 15 feet room before he passes, or we don't know. I'm not going to tell you whether he uh, dies or he lives, because I think it would be a great experience for you to watch it. And I want to brag about the film a little bit more because we got a 10-minute standing ovation in Venice Film Festival for it. It ran in Japan for 150 days. It released in 36 countries. It got BBC Channel 4's the best review ever of any Indian film so far after Satyajit Ray. And it had been ranked with Ozu's film, the Japanese master. So please watch the film. And my journey in that film is that I lost my father in 2003 and he died at the age of 93. And before he died, I had the opportunity to read a lot on death. I read Sri Aurobindo and his books on death, answers on the questions written by his disciples or asked by his disciples on death, and exactly what happens after one dies, and blah, 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 and it goes on and on. And I was like, what? Like, I couldn't believe it. The books are called Letters on Yoga. If you're interested, please watch it. And I could not take them lightly. The answers were so profound and so something about those answers, not the words, but the energies through the words which are coming to you unknowingly. It bypasses your intellect and it sort of convinces you, and without having, like, if somebody says, no, I don't believe in it, it's okay with me, because I believe that if you can give me a better story, what happens after death, I will buy it. But this was the best story that I have heard. And stories are very important. We believe in stories about ourselves, about our parents, about our father, about all these great stories which are told through films or through novels. Brilliant stories. And stories, when you believe in it, that becomes your reality. And I feel that our film, this one, Mukti Bhawan, made me sort of go through the experience which I have already went through with my dad. Because when my dad passed, I didn't have any grief in me, because I was like, oh, okay, this is one story has ended and another would start, and he has lived his full life. He was not like dead at the age of 60 when I am now. And so it sort of reaffirmed and restored, and it fortified my belief in that story. And nobody has come up with a better story for me to change, to sort of, jump into the other boat yet.
Right. So this is actually very life-affirming storytelling, watching stories. Um, that leads me to a no-brainer of a question, really. How, I mean, all of us have experienced our viewing lives have changed so dramatically with the existence of what we call the OTT platforms. You just now appended your question with saying it's on Disney Hotstar. It's not in a theater, but it's on a streaming platform. And the fact that the film is there, it's for people to access as and when, it's going to possibly be there forever, right?
I hope so.
In a manner of
I'm also
speaking.
worried about that, because if imagine our grandchildren watching me on screen or wherever on some OTT platform and criticizing me. Oh my God, I've heard so much about this actor, but he's such a terrible actor. You never know, how will they
Yeah.
respond to the kind of acting that we are doing now, because acting as a craft is also changing, is evolving.
So tell me a little bit about how the opportunities for an actor like you, who you straddle the mainstream space, which is, sort of what's called the commercial cinema, which I believe is a misnomer of a term, because every film is meant to be
To make
like
commerce.
to make commerce, to make money. But it also, the existence of the fact, I mean, there is so much work happening uh, for different kinds of filmmaking, different kinds of formats, long form storytelling is now coming into its own in India. In fact, the last week we saw Black Warrant, and this week I have just finished watching the second season of Patal Lok, which is even better than the first. Yeah, yeah. It's even better than the first. It is outstanding. And we are only in the second week of January, and I can quite say that it is going to be one of the best of the year. So I wanted to ask you, I mean, of course, the world has opened up as far as filmmaking is concerned. How is it for an actor like you?
I would say that this is the beginning of the golden era of actors, not those who do not believe in becoming a star, but those who believe in the craft and in love with the craft of acting. I feel that the time has just started, and it's a long way. I think we have a long way to go in this particular journey of celebrating the nuances of craft, the the going the deeper journey into the nuances of human conditions, and embodying a role which would give a very vivid experience to the other person about and evoke deep empathy amongst the audience members. The faculty of judgment, watching, say, even Hitler, would take a back seat and understand and empathize, not necessarily agreeing with the person, but empathize with the person. That would probably finally, this particular exercise of empathizing would probably lead to appreciating the other instead of being scared of the other, which is constantly being used by our politicians, by the corporations, that the fear mongering which happens and through which they sell things to you. And I think if we get into, if the filmmakers, they celebrate the craft, the ability to dive deep into human conditions, so I feel that this time, this is just the beginning for actors like, as I said, those who love and those who don't consider themselves bigger than the story. And I feel that anybody who considers that bigger than the story, I stay away from those people, and those I have my empathy for them, but I don't have to make friends with them. So lot of actors, those who you haven't, like you talked about Black Warrant, I'm in the second episode now. I didn't even know Patal Lok had already come because I was supposed to be part of it because of my dates. Avinash Arun is the director, he's a very dear friend. And I'm right now working in two Netflix projects. One is a Netflix series, the other is a Netflix film, another independent project which is funded by the Venice Film Festival again, like Mukti Bhawan, and so I'm going to start shooting for it on the 20th of February. So all these will be on OTT platforms, and I could not have imagined that films where I'm in, yes, of course, I had been part of the blockbusters as well, but not in the lead, not in the substantial role. And another film which is about to release on the 28th of this month in January, called The Storyteller. It's coming on Hotstar again. It's a story of written by Satyajit Ray in response to the this myth, or maybe it's a true story, that when Satyajit Ray went to Hollywood with a story to be made in Hollywood about an alien, and then he was sort of, sent back to India without without being entertained by the Hollywood producers. And then quite a few years later, Spielberg made E.T. based on the same story. So when Satyajit Ray came back and he wrote a story in response to that event, what happened. It's a brilliant story about IP, intellectual property. Who does it belong to? It's a brilliant story. And there are two main roles. Paresh Rawal plays one of the main roles. I play the other one. And two amazing actors, Tanisha Chatterjee and Revati, the director and the actor from the southern part of India. So please watch that. So all these films wouldn't have been, I can't invite you to see those films unless those were on OTT platforms. So I'm grateful and thankful for them. But they must do more. I think OTT platforms probably should have their commercial aspects where they have to get their TRPs and subscribers, more subscribers, and all that. They must, otherwise they can't run the channel unless they show some profit to the shareholders. But also they have a responsibility of bringing in quality products more. What I see on OTT platforms nowadays, quite often, probably 80%, I'm not a data scientist, that 80% of the stories are about the darkness, about the lower depth of humanity. As one of my friends said, that there's very skilled, extremely crafty films, but it's about lower depths. Like the vultures, they fly high and they are extremely skilled with their nose and eyes. They know, but they look at the dead bodies. So I think fear sells very easily, sex sells very easily, jealousy and gore and blood sells easily. So I can see most of the OTT platforms are filled with dark subjects, and I hope that changes, that we get to, giving one more second, we get to see something which is uplifting, which lightens your being, which is also entertaining at the same time. It's very difficult to make such films, I know, but we should not bypass the hard work and make something which is easy to make, not easy, but easier to make and entertain. As we talked about, it's very difficult to make a good film, even if you're putting all the masalas in.
Right. So, again, that is a good lead into my next question, which is something to do with the fact that digital does allow us to have multiplicity of views, pay-per-view, and they don't have to do box office, the platforms, but they do have to show numbers of views, and that becomes part of the algorithm. Everybody sitting here understands algorithm. Yes. So people can actually tell you that if you are being given dark things to watch, it may be that you clicked on a couple of dark things, and that's the only thing that the platform will give you. That's one. Of course, they are pushing that because it's an easy sell. Upliftment is a really hard thing to sell because, it's hard to make that kind of, to create that kind of world where it becomes credible, it becomes engaging. Because anything that makes you feel not so good about yourself is, funnily enough, something that people want to veer towards rather than the other side,
It's very easy to explain if I talk from the point of view of the great masters of India, that it's very easy to target the part which is below your navel. It's called lower movement. It's very easily stirrable. Very easily it can get tickled just like that. Very difficult to tickle your heart. It's called anahata chakra, means unstruck sound. So you need, the person who is making has to be evolved. Very evolved person like Ang Lee, who made Life of Pi. Yeah. It's a deep film, and the budget was $110 million. It earned almost $1 billion. So how did he do that? You need to have the intention and your craft at the same time, and don't try to bypass the hard work to make something which is uplifting and yet entertaining. So I do not buy whatever the marketing, sales marketing executives still, oh, no, we have less eyeballs because of this. I said, then show me your degree, that why did you get the degree to sell trash and you can't sell something which is good? You know, that means you have got the wrong degrees. So why would you then, take the salary if you can't sell something which you are saying which is good? They themselves say, oh, it's a good product, but sir, it will not get sold and blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, then what's the point of your degree if you can't package it well and sell it? Yeah. Of course, I'm just making it black and white. There are nuances in it. I get that. But I think there is a lack of courage to take the risk. And also the fact that the audience had been fed a certain kind of films and certain kinds of entertainment content since last 30, 40 years. So the habit of being, there is something, in Hindi we say, Nach Meri Jaan, you sit down like a zamindar and you throw the coin and you say, Nach dikhao. There is no participation, that one has to also entice and invite the audience to participate. Like, so there has to be the craft to make you from like this to like, not with the blood and the sex and all that, but with something which is subtle, something which is beautiful, something which is nuanced. That, oh, what is it? It must find its way through the heart into your mind to be curious. Like, what is it that I'm not being able to put the finger in, and yet it's interesting? It's difficult to make. So we have, I would say, I would dare say openly probably, that we have to graduate us, the filmmakers, the people, those who fund the films, they have to evolve a little more in order to trust themselves a little more and to find not the shortcut, but put in the harder work into making something which is long lasting, which is, which will last for centuries, rather than something which comes on a Friday and goes out on another Friday.
Right. You're talking about filmmakers trusting themselves. I think they need to also trust us, the audience.
Absolutely.
That I think that is something that
that's the part I said, courageous.
Yeah. No, with this, us, people like us who are watching, trust us to meet you halfway. Do not infantilize us, right? And on this happy note, I'm going to open up the floor to the questions. Anyone, please raise your hand, keep it brief, and give us your name.
Good. No questions. We can go. Thank you. It's my pleasure. You can ask more. I have got lots of things to tell you.
Please, ma'am, get your mic. Yeah.
Like you said, I completely echo with you, sir, when you said the content is more about gore and sex and violence. I at least completely echo. I understand the algorithm part as well, because I remember the moment I go to Netflix, even if I put in, feel-good movies, all I see is Squid Games 2 recommendation.
Exactly,
wo kahan se feel-good hai? I mean,
they're very well-made movies.
Right?
I don't know doubt about it. But as I said, craftsmanship with the lower depth of humanity is like.
So yeah, do suggest the list if you have more. Yeah. We would love to watch it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Adil's playlist, basically.
There's a question there. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. I'm Indranil. Star Trek Voyager was quite a surprise. Do we see you in Star Trek in coming years? Star Trek Voyager.
Star Trek?
Star Trek Voyager was quite a surprise. So, do we see you in Star Trek in the coming years?
No, I haven't been yet contacted. My last appearance on Star Trek was, I think, Star Trek Discovery Season 3.
That's right.
After that, I haven't been, that character hasn't yet come up. I'm sure it will come up someday.
I'm sure as well.
I'm very, very looking forward to that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, sir. Firstly, you've got a fantastic voice. I think I must compliment you on that. I think if I even heard you on the radio, I'd know it's you. I think Most of us would know it's you. My question is, there's this entire thing of we're spoiled for choice as an audience now because of digital. Vis-a-vis the time when we would know that there's this one amazing film that's at the theater and everybody in the city or everybody at in the nation would go watch it. But now there's also this thing of there's so much to see that we often miss seeing a lot of things. So for you as an actor, as an artist, for us, even as audiences, how do you sort of find that sweet spot of, I would want to be remembered as well, right? Because you don't want to fall into that chasm of, I did films, but nobody seemed to watch it because there was also this time of, things being released left, right, and center. Like the entire thing that, I'm just going to take it as an example, but, the fact that you were also like, okay, Patal look to release, but I didn't know kind of thing. And it happens with so many of us that our favorite series are sort of coming, but we miss that one particular date because there's so much happening and there's so much to watch. So how do you find that sweet spot of the sweet spot of tact?
It's good now. It's good.
Okay, perfect. The sweet spot of basically tactfully choosing roles or choosing ideas or concepts that also make you feel remembered. Because I think the most meaningful thing as an artist is also that, because you want to contribute meaningfully and be remembered, like you said, by your grandchildren or generations much after. So that's my question. Thank you.
I have a friend who is a very known actor. Recently, you must have. I'm not going to name him. He's also my junior from National School of Drama, New Delhi, where I studied. And so one day, 6 years probably ago, I asked him, "So what's going on?" I live in Delhi, unlike other actors who are mostly in Bombay. So I keep going to Bombay, do my films and act, shoot and come back to Delhi. So when I go and if I have 1 or 2 days free, I keep calling people and then we meet. So I asked him, what's going on? And he says, oh, nothing much, there's just one film I acted, it hasn't yet come out. And I'm like, yeah, you have acted at least, Then he said something very interesting, which we all Hindi-speaking people know. Jungle mein mor nache to nacha to kisne dekha? So I was like, that's a good metaphor, but I don't think the more cares if somebody watched or not. So I would rather be the more, I think it's a process of evolution as a human being, as an art practitioner, that my job as a creator of art or part of a creator of art, that I do my thing. If it is watched, it's like a dessert, but I had my meal while I acted in it. That's my main meal. So while I'm in the act of acting, I am satisfied. If somebody watches it and passes a compliment or criticism, for that matter, that's a dessert. So this is a place that I am right now. And I'm like, oh, I haven't heard about this film. Oh, I'm sorry, it's there. It's going to come out. There are like 4 or 5 films which haven't yet come out. One is coming out on the 28th, as I said. It's called The Storyteller. It's a brilliant film, and I watched it. Opened in Busan. It went to Palm Spring Festival. It traveled across the globe. So I don't think I should be remembered. I mean, it's done. It's gone. And impermanence is the crux of this entire universe. Nothing is permanent. It's constantly changing. And who the hell do I think I am that I should be remembered? And I'm fine with that completely. I mentioned our grandchildren thingy. It's not because anything else. It's just that even if they do see, if at all, they should feel like, he was a decent guy, decent actor. It should not be like, oh God, I'm so ashamed of my grandfather.
It's
a joke.
So having said that, the thing about impermanence is that I do believe that all good films find their way to the person who needs to watch it. No, even the actor. I mean, obviously, if you're part of a work, it definitely, there are ways that it's like water which flows to a particular direction, and it will veer towards where it is required. My belief, all of these years of watching from the other side. If is there anybody else? Yeah, over there, please. Can we get a mic over here?
Hi, sir. So I
Hi.
work for a Telugu OTT called AHA.
Okay.
Mr. Adil Hussain. So I'm just replying to your answer only which you just gave. I'm not comparing you with Mr. Nasruddin Shah, but
Please don't. He's my great teacher, and
exactly. So my question is that you just mentioned that you don't want to do films which are just made to make commercially, viable for the makers. So he has also acted in films like Dirty Picture or
Absolutely,
like
yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Does it make him a lesser actor?
no, it doesn't. Not at all. I have also acted.
I think that you
Yeah.
should also work on films which are more sellable commercially.
Yeah, I would love to.
If not you, we want you to be remembered that way.
No, I did act in many commercial movies. There was one actor who was here, Tahir Basin. We were in the same film, Force 2 or something. Yeah, I acted in Bell Bottom, and in Commando 2 and
Race 4.
huh? And Robo 2 with Mr. Rajnikant. I did my share of, and I enjoyed acting on those, and they pay me a lot of money. So I have to pay my bills. So I look at my bank balance when it dwindles, and if there's a commercial film knocking at my door, I am like, of course. I have no qualms about it. But I make sure that there is something in the film that I agree with. If it is totally, there are a lot of films, mostly probably 90% of the commercial films, those find it, their way to me. I say no because of either date issue or the content issue. And there are a lot of films from Andhra film industry, they come to me. And the only problem I have, one of the problems, not only problems, one of the problems is the language that I have to speak, and I can't speak Telugu.
But you have done many Malayalam films.
I have done 2 Malayalam films, and with great effort, and I felt that I am cheating because I do not understand the words I'm saying, and I am a person who thinks words are sacred. Like I did Shakespeare, and I did Ibsen, I did Chekhov, I did Goldoni and Peter Schaffers, the great masters of playwrights, and I have acted in. So I think words are the windows to understand the human conditions of with such nuances, writers like Chekhov and Ibsen and Shakespeare. So when I don't understand a word and I'm saying, what am I doing here? Just because I would get some money. It didn't feel right. I came home and my wife asked me, what's wrong? I'm like, it just feels I'm cheating. I wish I understood the words. So I don't have the time also to put in enough, because the script quite often comes just 1 hour before going to the set. And I'm like, oh, okay, So I decided not to do it anymore unless I speak in Hindi or in English or Bengali or Assamese, that the 4 languages I can speak fluently, and then they can dub it in any other language. I must have the fun while I am acting. That is very important for me.
Right. When you talked about words are sacred, and to me, one of the problems of this digital proliferation has been the rise of trolling, online trolling, and I really wanted to put it out there. And it is an increasing problem for people who are in the creative field, where people hiding behind anonymous handles say whatever they feel like, and this is an audience which understands how to manipulate this. So I'm going to leave. First of all, I wanted to know, how does it feel to be at the receiving end of that kind of concerted, if lack of a better word, dislike or hate or like disrespect? And an audience, I'm going to leave that question and park it with all of you as to how do you see how do all of us see that as a problem that we need to have answers to? And with that, I think we will, unless somebody else. Yeah.
I have only once been trolled so far for a tweet. I don't know what else to call it, X'd for an X, for a tweet, which coincided with the release of a film, but I had no idea that film got released, like Patel Lok. And I had said something, I just put out what I felt is my definition of art. And then someone sort of linked it to a film which got released, and I was told, I'm like, oh. But so, and I felt that misunderstanding a human being, misunderstanding a word said by somebody, by your loved ones even, it's a very, very normal human trait. And when you are confronting an ocean of strangers sitting there to find, sometimes intentionally to find something wrong with you, I take full responsibility of not being able to put it in a way which would, because that's precisely my definition of art was, that I said truth must be spoken, but must be spoken gently, so that it enters the, it bypasses all the judgments and prejudices of the human being and touches the heart. And then I also said that if our son, who is 15-year-old, doesn't even listen to me, if I come from a high horse, I'm sitting on a high horse, how do I expect a stranger would agree with me when I'm speaking something which is subtle? So it is important what we say and how we say it, and we are not wordsmiths like Shakespeare. So we must be so careful what we say. And I take the responsibility of the reactions that I got. So I forgive them, Lord, they know not what they're doing. So I do take responsibility of it. It's my fault. So yeah, unless, otherwise I shouldn't be on any public platform. Understand?
So I think what
Thank
that
you.
leaves us with is the abundance of choice, which is something which is fantastic for all of us, and isn't it? So thank you very much for a rewarding conversation.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute. Thank you for listening to my rambling. Thank you.